very important scripture for the audience and myself to continually read over and over to make sure that we're building our faith in the supreme authority, which is God. But He's appointed His Son as a king for a purpose, and He came to die as a king. That the supremacy of God would always be in place, allowing us a choice to choose between God or men. Which we know man's choice can be choosing men to rule over us can be quite a problem, as we've seen what's been going on in the last couple of years now. But Colossians 1:16 and 17, very, very, very pertinent. It says, "For by Him were all things created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by Him and for Him. And He is before all things, and by Him all things consist." Now, we have to take a look at that, because we remember that the supremacy of God only comes in under things that are natural, real, and true and spiritual. The artificial world of man is in secondary position, but not when you're mingled in with it. So if you entangle yourself in the artificiality in claiming, and that's how most people have registered all title on all property they have that they value so greatly, as the rich man who approached Jesus, the rich young ruler who wanted to know how to be a disciple or follow Christ, and he was told he had to get rid of all that. He had to disentangle himself from that. He had to get himself away from that, and let the secular world have its own things. But when we look closely at this, if all things were made for Him and by Him, we have to say, would there be something in the judicial acts that would give us a clue on these things? So we're going to look at section 7, and if you look at the seal of the office of the Vital Statistics Act, this is the one for Ontario, but the section 7 is dealing with seal of office. And clearly it states, the Registrar General shall have a seal of office. And again, that seal of office comes under the Great Seal. And the seal of office may be reproduced in any manner, and has the same effect whether it is manually applied or otherwise reproduced. So I would have to look at it that if I had a birth record and my parents had chosen not to put my given name on there, and I had not elected to do so, which in turn is the only way that a birth certificate could have been issued, because they need the given name on that record in order to look at it to create an ambiguous certificate that looks like it's saying given name, surname, which it's not. They're not crossing the line. This is just a bond. It's just a trademark instrument. It has nothing to do with a living individual. They just need a surety for it. And so in section 7 there, we realize that the seal of office, it doesn't state any parameters for reproducing that seal. Well, you know that God would give you, as He has done in the past with faithful men, the power over the authorities to do as God's will is, not as their will, as it would happen in Egypt with the nation of Israel when they actually were freed. The situation was, basically based on the celebration of the Passover, when the angel of death passed over. So when you pass over something, something is generally omitted. Okay, so if your parents had omitted your given name off the record, there wouldn't have been a problem, because there'd be nothing seen there that's on the evil side. You hadn't touched it. So when we look at this record and we see the seal that's outside that, there's a very interesting formula for what we call these seals. These seals, or even coins, are called in relief. Very unique term in artwork. It's called in relief because these are the power and the seal of the government's secular state. So everything is based on the registry. Now, if the registry had only taken in what belonged to Caesar and left the other out as non-transferable on the given name, well, Caesar still would have had what was Caesar, and you would have had a seal on a document. And that seal, of course, has been noted on the authentication documents that are attached to these original records that seal of that office ought to be given faith and credence in all places. And it has an AD on there for that reason. It's only there to protect the innocent child. That surname, it could be nothing more than a cover at that point that only covers secular matters for administration, has nothing to do with spiritual. So did they provide relief? Did God provide relief when he ordained these powers? Just look a little closely at what I've said in this video and go over the Vital Statistics Act, especially from whatever state you're in. I'm sure that they have a seal of office for their registry, and they're a trustee only for the secular side and not to have any at all jurisdiction over the spiritual side that is not required to be placed on that record. So we're leading up to the steps of escape, but we went through these steps slowly, and that's why I'm not anti-government, because that'd be anti-God, because God has ordained them to be in place to manage everything until his son arrives with his kingdom. So we want to look at things clearly, and definitely from a scriptural level, and definitely from using the scriptures to look into what we're surrounded with, so we have a perception from spiritual eyes able to see.